Sunday's demonstration drew thousands of pro-democracy supporters onto the streets. And their message was clear. The protesters weren't fazed by pro-Beijing supporters. The marchers were determined to commemorate the 1989 uprising. The revolt shook China's leadership to the core. And the massacre that followed showed they would not tolerate dissent. The tank man's defiance was flashed around the world, but he was taken away, never to be seen again.
Actually, you have this 1989.
Today, his memory lives on. At the new Tiananmen Museum, Salil Shetty, the Secretary-General of Amnesty International, is on hand as the 25th anniversary draws near.
I mean, the Chinese government is, they're not allowing any form of a conversation, any kind of debate, or in fact, they're trying to hide the memories.
If Beijing had its way, this small museum would not exist. But Hong Kong still maintains its autonomy. Across the border, there's no such freedom.
What we've seen in the last few months is very worrying. We've had a series of key activists, key leaders who've been arrested who are linked somehow to the Tiananmen Square memorial, the whole process of remembering the 25th anniversary. But unfortunately, they've not even stopped at that. We've now seen a much wider crackdown.
We have the candlelight vigil and our protest action in Hong Kong.
The museum was established by democracy activist and Member of Parliament Lee Cheuk-yang.
And you can see the timeline, what happened.
After taking money to the democracy movement in 1989, he was banned from travelling to China. And he says he's being closely watched.
Oh yeah, of course, this is a very usual thing for me. All my phones are bugged, my email regularly get hacked. And of course, we are very closely monitored by the Chinese government, both because of our involvement in the pro-democracy movement in China and also our involvement in Hong Kong fight for democracy.
The museum can't advertise on the mainland, but many of its visitors are from there. And they've worked out a way to get the message out and beat the internet censorship.
They avoid the June 4th, and they call it May 35th Museum. And that is a very clever way of, avoiding the ban by the words. So it's a very clever way to, advertise for us.
What is the experience for a mainland Chinese person who visits the museum?
Many of them do not know what happened, especially younger generation. Those who are the older one, they know what happened, but they never, because many of them are not from Beijing. So they never really know what happened in Beijing, and they are shocked by learning what happened.
The museum is tucked away on this street. There were protests on opening day in April from a pro-Beijing group calling themselves June 4th Truth. And spokesman Arthur Lee is no fan.
所得到嘅資訊咧，主要都係從一啲報章啊、電視，或者係從一個我哋叫做支聯會嘅團體嗰度得到一啲嘅資訊翻嚟。嗱，基本上我哋認為咧，6·4事件在佢手中咧，即係一個工具。佢係希望利用呢個工具咧，企圖去推翻而家中國現有嘅政權。
But Mr. Lee says their protest reflects a growing concern for Hong Kong.
When you look at Hong Kong, you can feel an atmosphere of very much people want to please China, especially if you have monetary interest in pleasing China. So the self-censorship arises from a very much of self-interest. Say businessmen, they are all pro-China. It's gradual strangling of the freedom that we had. When you look at the press, it's really very worrying because you don't have the freedom of press, you don't have the freedom of expression. And then when you look at the press, they are all belong to some tycoons. And those tycoons, businessmen, their business is in China, not in Hong Kong.
And their future is...
And the future is for them in China.
In Beijing in 1989, students fought for democracy and free speech. Given Mr. Lee's comments about self-censorship, I went to the university to see what Hong Kong students had to say. Are you worried about freedom of speech in the future in Hong Kong?
Yes, really.
Yeah, why?
We can't talk about many serious things in internet anymore. So I think it's very important and serious problem.
When I look over the newspapers, there's some sort of censorship. It's very shocking for us as a Hong Kong people that the freedom of express is being eroded so rapidly.
Do you feel like you're completely free to say whatever you want in Hong Kong?
Now, I think yes, but I can't say in the future. Maybe this camera or this video, some people see in the China, and then they will find me, and then I will be dangerous.
But is it a real concern, or are you just joking?
50-50, yeah.
In bustling Hong Kong, suggestions of censorship or worse are not mere conjecture. This city has long had a thriving free press, but it's not just the students who say this democratic space is now under threat. Journalists are still reeling from a savage attack on one of their senior colleagues, Kevin Lau, editor-in-chief of the Ming Pao Daily, known for its fearless reporting.
Hong Kong is also a law-abiding city, and that's why we strongly condemn this savage act on Mr. Kevin Lau this morning.
The attack in late February brought thousands of media workers onto the street. Their banner read, "They can't kill us all." One of the protesters was Claudia Mo, who spent over 2 decades as a journalist. She's now a politician, and she knows Kevin Lau well. Today, she wants to show me the crime scene.
That's okay. Hey, 麻煩你，唔該晒。
Like many here, she believes the attack was also an assault on press freedom.
It's absolutely under threat. The self-censorship is not just creeping in, it is becoming very blatant. I used to be a cautious optimist, but now I'm getting more and more pessimistic by the day. With the communist ideology, the Beijing people, the leaders would say Hong Kong people need to speak our language, adopt our mentality, think the way we do. This place needs to be, not exactly brainwashed, they wouldn't use that term, right? They need to feel more Chinese, communist Chinese. That one, it's called Eastern Coast, that one, not this chit-chat.
Kevin Lau finished his regular breakfast here. As he crossed the road, he was brutally hacked by one of 2 men on a motorbike wielding a meat cleaver.
And he was attacked over there.
Where's that?
Up here. 我唔夠膽叫呢個英文做 house. Exactly here. Haha.
Several arrests have been made in the case, but no one knows for sure who was behind the attack on the Ming Pao chief.
I went to visit him at the hospital and I asked him, it's got a lot to do with press freedom and things, right? And he replied to me, it has everything to do with my journalistic work, he said. And I'm quoting him.
He can only now walk because he's wearing a brace. He may still lose his legs. His newspaper had riled many people in power, and he was investigating the so-called princelings, the children of past and present Communist Party leaders who have amassed a fortune. And according to Claudia Mo, in the wake of the attack, the message is clear.
People might think that, if I'm not obedient enough, I just may get hurt, and hurt badly.
And do you think it is having that effect on local journalists?
Well, at least within Ming Pao, that's for sure. I've heard young journalists from that newsroom saying that they're actually even terrified at the sight of a motorcycle.
At Sunday's march, the Tiananmen Museum's Mr. Li continued his determined campaign. He shrugs off criticism that the uprising happened a long time ago, and it's now time to move on.
You know, people say you should look forward, forget the past. China is now improving economically. But when you look at the China, you know, economically it may be improving. But then political freedom, democracy, human rights are all in a regression. So to remember June 4th is not staying in the past, but it's linking to the future, linking to now. And the demand of the student at that time is very much relevant today.